Simmers. Hello, Simmers. This is your captain speaking, and we are about to embark on the Alaska bush trip, which is part of the uh, update, the USA update that came with the last um, update for Microsoft Flight Simulator. This Flight Simulator version 1.11.6.0, and today is November the 29th, and so it was the last update for the month of November, and so we're about ready to get started on this. Let's talk a little bit about the bush trip. The bush trip is going to take us up in the northeast direction along the Aleutian Islands and the Alaska Peninsula. Let's get a map and take a look at the whole trip. Here we go. I've used a little nav map to put together this rough map of the direction. This has each one of the major legs of the bush trip. It doesn't have all of the waypoints in it that are part of each one of the bush trips, so it doesn't represent the exact path of the flight that we'll be taking. But you can see that we're going to be going about, looks like about 350 nautical miles, I believe that. I'm sorry, about 741 nautical miles. My map reading skills are not all that great. About 741 nautical miles. You can see that from here to here is about 300 nautical miles, and another 300, that would be 600 nautical miles, but because of the irregular shape of it, I guess we had another 140 some odd nautical miles for this trip. We'll be starting at the airport called Unalaska. I'm not exactly sure what that name means, but it's right here toward the southern end of the Aleutian Islands. Of course, there's a lot of islands here that we won't be going over. But starting right here, and we'll be flying to this little airport, Akutan. Each one of these flights is going to be fairly short. According to the description here, the entire duration of the flight will be about 6 hours. There are 12 legs in the flight, so that means each of the legs will be approximately 1.5 hour long, some a little longer than that and some a little bit shorter. And this will be one of the shorter ones. We'll be flying in the Club Crafter X Cub. This is a aircraft that I'm not too familiar with, so I may not be I may not show very great proficiency with it. The tail draggers are a little bit difficult for me to land, so hopefully by the end of this bush trip I will have learned how to do that a little bit better than what I'm able to right now, but don't expect too much. I'm not really a pilot, and so I do make a lot of mistakes. We're going to be just flying off the cuff here. This is a VFR flight. We won't be talking to ATC or anything of that nature. We'll just be flying from one place to the other and seeing the sights along this part of Alaska. So that being said, let's go ahead and get started with the first leg of the Alaskan bush trip. like we have a wind of about 270 degrees at 3 knots, so it won't be very much of a factor during this flight, but there will be a slight headwind, at least here at the beginning. All right, so here we are at Unalaska, and we are in our X-Cub aircraft. And I'm not going to be using the VFR map since we have nav map to guide us. I'm just going to blow this up a little bit on my other screen here so I can see where we're at along the track. Of course, we have a map within the cockpit as well, so that's nice to have. So let's see if we can get this thing in the air. First of all, let's set out our altimeter for this first leg. Let me take a look at nav map here. And I'll pause this for a moment so that I don't make everybody sick with turning my head. Looks like we've got just not very much between here and the tallest mountains between us are going to be only a few feet above ground, at least as far as the straight path goes. We won't be going straight, so let's go ahead and climb to 2,000 at first. So I'll set my selected altitude to 2,000 feet, and we'll select the vertical feet at 500 feet per minute. Let's go around to the heading and set our heading to the direction of the runway. Once we get airborne and get a little bit of altitude, we'll go ahead and switch to nav mode. But let's see, first of all, we need to configure our nav mode to GPS, and I'm not sure how to do that yet. So, brand new thing here. Let's see. Menu. There's got to be a way to do this. Here we go. Active FPL. Oh, that's the flight plan. Let's take a look at map. Map. It doesn't do it. Common frequency. How do we set? Maybe that's it. Nope. Select page. That doesn't do it. I don't know how we set the this to heading altitude. Well, usually there would be a very split, full, simple way to do this. Here we go. There we go. And now we can now split it, and we have the map here and the flight control here. So let's get familiar with our aircraft. Here's trim, parking brakes. Where is parking brake at? Fuel there. May not have a parking brake. Throttle. And that is the carburetor heat, I believe. No, there's carb heat. This must be let's see. There's the mixture. That must be air intake, an alternate air intake. Now I don't see a parking brake anywhere, so maybe it just doesn't have a parking brake, and we should be ready to go. So let's see if we. All right. All right, we have engine going. And that's one thing about these tail draggers is you can't see the runway in front of you. We'll do the best we can. Let's see if we can get this in the air. What's going to happen is that the tail is going to come up. We'll get our speed up. Take off. Oh, isn't that pretty? Turn on the no, it doesn't like the autopilot very much, so all right, now it's on autopilot. We're climbing about 500 feet per minute, just as I desired. Already at 1200. I don't know if I'd want to ride on that road over there. It looks kind of slippery. And we're going to have to climb some more. So let's adjust our selected height for about 3,000 feet. Continue to climb at 500 feet per minute. Oh, I see what this is now. That is our prop RPM. The Pacific Ocean, so called because compared to the Atlantic, it is relatively peaceful, calm. Take a look at our nav log. We're currently on the heading of 100 degrees. We're making a turn now to 40 degrees. Adjust northeast again and head over the Agamjik Bay. Look for a creek running inland from the northern shore, and follow it all the way until it leads you to the waters of English Bay. Really kind of hard to see outside of this. Looking for a creek running toward the northern shore. Maybe that's it right there. Taking us to the English Bay. So I guess this is the English Bay right in front of us. It's a little fascinating to fly over places like this in the simulator and think about the thousands or millions of acres of land in which no one lives, completely isolated and desolate, except for a few scattered cities here and there, small towns. Just so far out away from civilization that it's not worth living. Too costly. Right now we're flying over the English Bay, and our airport that we are flying to, I believe, I'm not sure. Let's see. We're going to have to see where this takes us, but I see something right there that kind of looks like an airport. But no, that's not it. I believe the airport is over on here on the left. So from our current heading of 37, we're going now to Unalaska Island. We'll turn to 48 degrees after that. Oh, I see. Let's see what I was looking at my map incorrectly here. We'll be flying over Unalaska Island to the next little island, and on the south end of that island is an airport that we will land at, Akutan. Give you a look, see where we are going in our journey. So far we have followed this track. Here is the island that we're coming up upon now, and the airport where we will land is at Akutan, on this next island beyond the one we're approaching. It'd be nice to have just a summer home on one of those little tiny islands. Just getting a picture there for my logbook. .3 nautical miles to the next waypoint, which is the north shore of this island. And our ET is counting down in tenths of seconds. 1 minute and 40 seconds to go till we reach our waypoint. Our ground speed is 116 knots, so we've got a slight tailwind. Now, I'm a little confused by our map. I don't see the plane. What's happened to it? Let's center on the plane. Here we go. We're at 3,000 feet, so I might get a little bit more efficiency out of the engine. Turning now to course 13. Let's get our nav log. Hot Springs Bay rise along the slope of the Broad Bright as the form of Mount Akutan grows larger before you as you pass around its eastern side and over the low ridge. Your path will lead to Hot Springs Bay. Mount Akutan. Now this is Mount Akutan here. And our airport is going to be over here in this area somewhere, I believe. Let's see, where would that be? somewhere over in this area. Now we're making our turn to the Akutan Airport. Head out over the Hot Springs Bay and make your way around the outcropping Ridge Point just to the east. Once past the point, continue east over Sandy Cove and along the shoreline toward Akutan Island. In the distance on the southwestern shore, your first destination awaits. We're about 6 nautical miles from the airport, so we should be able to see it here. And it is a little difficult to make out. There it is. Right here, if you're looking and haven't seen it yet. I don't believe we have flaps. Oh, but we do. We are way, way too high. I think that's probably full flaps right there. Now, the trick with tail draggers is to land on the front two wheels. And there we go. And we've completed our first leg of the Alaskan bush trip. We came in, I believe, here, landed. Right now we're right about here on the runway, so we'll, when we come back to take off, we'll have to taxi back down to the end of this runway to take off. Thanks for watching our bush trip, and come back for the next bush trip that will be uploaded very soon.